Family members who watch you get abused by other members in the family and tell you it's okay to just pray about it, or time heals all wounds, that kind of stuff really grinds my gears, and we need to have a conversation about it. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist, and I did a post on willfully ignorant people and why it's important to stay away from them. And this is the epitome of willful ignorance. When family members, as this commenter says, family watched me get abused by my family, told me time heals all wounds. I'm like, did you forget? You saw what happened. So family members who turned a blind eye, blind ear, to watching other people in the family get abused, or saying, it's not my business, or, trying to basically excuse away the abuse, or that's them. I ain't got nothing to do with that type of stuff. And then they try to, essentially play in your face, is what I call it. Time heals all wounds. Okay, well, I have some choice words that I'm choosing not to say right now, but you need to stay away from that. And, people, listen, I'm speaking from experience. I have fallen out with members of my family over stuff like this. And I'm willing to take it there. You have some people that, I walk on eggshells. I don't want to get into an argument. I live for this type of stuff, and so I'll take it there. But I think that people like who do this, you're basically abusing me too. That's how I would look at it too. I would be, if you're sitting by and they're sitting out talking about you and talking about what's going on, but when it's time to piss or get off the pot, they're nowhere to be found, and then they tell you some silly stuff like this. So, in that case, I look at them as being abusers too, if not even more abusive than the person who's actually putting their hands on you or doing what else, because you have the power to call 911. You have the power to intervene. You have the power to pull that adult to the side and have that conversation and say, listen, don't you put your hands on those kids no more. But you're choosing not to. You're dangerous. I don't care. And I may be asked about what I said later. That's fine. They're dangerous. They're more so dangerous than the person who's doing it. And there's a special place for people like that. However, that place should not be in your life. You need to read that person for who they are and move accordingly, because I do think that people who do this, they start to conceptualize in their mind like, oh, it's not my business. And then they may also start to say, well, maybe they need that. Maybe that person's getting abused needs that or deserves that somehow. And they check out. They literally check out. Then they basically tell you to suck it up. This is essentially what they're telling you, is to suck it up, and you need to forget about it. That's essential. They're telling you need to forget about it and you need to move on, as if you could just put it on like a new coat or a new pocketbook that you wear every day. This, I really need for people to do better. I really need for families to do better. If you have children that are struggling, that are helpless, that are being abused, you really do need to intervene. You don't need to wait for the buy-in of the abuser. I think that's what a lot of people also wait on too, is like, oh, the abuser will have some sort of grand epiphany and then they'll see what they're doing is wrong and they'll stop when they're ready. That rarely, if ever, happens. If you're in a family that tells you that you need to pray about it, talk to Jesus, and do all these things, I would encourage you to really, think about, staying put and staying silent. They're not going to change. They're letting you know who they are. And sometimes your enemy is right under your own roof. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for this comment. I appreciate it.